It's Friday morning, and you know what that means. It's time for another episode of the Alabama Slam podcast. I'm your host, Corey Hanna.
What's going on, guys? It's Patrick Akers.
And it might end up being a little bit of a short episode today. There's not a lot of WWE to talk about. I honestly missed Friday Night SmackDown, and there was, Patrick said, a recap / highlight show or whatever on Monday.
Yeah, so SmackDown from last week was taped. And then, Monday they ran kind of like a best of show. I guess one thing, I didn't mention this before we started rolling, one little thing to talk about from Monday was they had a live interview with Cody Rhodes. So it's the first time Cody's been seen since his injury. And he made it very clear that he is coming after the Universal Championship and Roman Reigns. So it seems like our biggest fear is probably going to come true, that it's going to be Roman and Cody at WrestleMania. Unless something wild and crazy happens. You never know.
I mean, look, will that be a good match? Yes, I have zero doubt that will be a good match. Will it be a satisfying end to this story? No, not at all. Unless they do something different on, like, Saturday night to finish the story. I don't know, man.
So they're leaning really heavy on the Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. So the rumor of those two challenging the Usos for the title is, what do we put it, 95%, I would say at this point. Like, it's probably definitely going to happen. That's going to be the one of the matches at WrestleMania. Where does Cody win the Royal Rumble? How does Cody insert himself into the main event picture? Because if he wouldn't have gotten hurt, this was probably where they were going to go, right? I think mine and both of our thinking was that, he did get hurt, and this Sami Zayn storyline has really taken off here in these last, 4 to 5 months, to where it's become the biggest story on television for that company.
Right.
So, we would love to see Roman and Sami, and again, if the dirt sheets are true, we'll get that match in February at Elimination Chamber. Just really would like to see it at WrestleMania and have Sami be the guy that takes it off. But, Cody is a big star. And he has been, since he has come back to WWE, he has been positioned as a big deal. They had a Cody countdown clock on Monday Night Raw when he was around. Like, Cody's going to show up in 57 minutes. It was a big thing. That match against Rollins, the Hell in a Cell match with the torn pec. I mean, you and I both talked about on that podcast how much we really liked that match. So we'll see. I mean, but it seems like this is the direction they're going in now. I guess the only question is now, how do they get there in a way that makes sense?
Yeah, I don't know. Hunter, don't fuck it up. We've been begging for the last 3 weeks now. Don't fuck it up.
I mean,
we even titled one of our episodes, "Don't Fuck This Up, Hunter."
I don't know if it's, having Cody challenge. I don't know if that would be a fuck up. I mean, would it be a...
No, but it's not satisfying to me.
Yeah, it'd be like a B-. It's a passing grade, but...
I mean, yeah, like I said earlier, it's still going to be a good show.
Yeah.
Cody's going to be in tip-top shape, right?
Oh, absolutely. He'll be motivated, wanting to come back.
I don't know. I'm not gonna get too into the weeds on my thoughts on that yet, but because I don't know. Who knows? They may flip it on us.
Yeah, there could always be a swerve coming at some point.
We did remember this week to do a prompt of the week. Patrick suggested that the prompt be, since John Cena is returning, where does he rank in your all-time list? And we want a number, nothing vague, like he's one of the best. We want to know, we want to know where he's at. Is he fourth? Is he first? Answer, and we'll read some of your comments on the podcast when we record. As always, Chase Gilmer, shout out Chase Gilmer. He replied, as a total package, he ranks behind Flair, Austin, Rock, Hogan. Those guys, including him, made wrestling a big deal to a broad audience. So he would be my number 5. That's a good answer. I'll take that.
Yeah, we always have to make this distinction, right, between the guys who were positioned at the top of the card for a long time versus guys who had a big influence on the in-ring action. You and I have talked about our love for Bryan Danielson, and I think when it comes to just pure in-ring talent and re-watchability of the matches, I think Bryan Danielson is number one of all time. You can go back and watch stuff from Ring of Honor, watch stuff from WWE, watch stuff from AEW. I mean, he has banger after banger up and down throughout his career. But when it comes to the dudes who were at the top, so the Flairs, the Austins, the Rocks, the Hogans, the Cenas, the Roman Reigns, that's a different breed because you're having to carry a company, and it's not just that. You're being the public face of the company. You are oftentimes the main merchandise driver. In John Cena's case, I think he's number one on the list of most Make-A-Wish wishes granted.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, there were things like that. There are other responsibilities that come with just having matches. So, for me personally, I still think Ric Flair is number one, just because of the fact that he was having to travel to different cities every single night and do 60-minute Broadways with dudes who a lot of the time didn't have any business being in the ring with the world champion, and he had to sell that crowd and give them their money's worth. And then just the legendary promo skills, right? I mean, so many guys have ripped stuff off of Ric Flair. So to me, he's number one. I think number two would be Stone Cold, just because he is the top guy at the time when the most people were watching wrestling of all time. And then I think, right there, probably at a 2B, 3 would be The Rock. And then I would have Cena at number 4. I would put John Cena over Hulk Hogan, just for the fact that out of all those guys, Cena's run at the top of the card was the longest. And outside of probably Ric Flair, I would say a lot of his big-time matches are highly rewatchable. Like, you can go back and watch, Cena versus RVD at One Night Stand at the ECW. Like, that's a great match. You can go watch Cena versus CM Punk. There's some Cena-Danielson matches, Cena-Lesnar, like, if you go to try to watch a Hulk Hogan match today, trust me, I've tried. It's damn near boring to watch because it feels so alien to what is modern-day wrestling.
I tried to watch a few, and I may have talked about this before, when I think we did our top 5 a few months ago. I listed Hogan simply for the memories factor. Hogan was the shit, top form, like Hulkamania when I was a kid, right? But I went back and tried to watch a couple matches, and I was like, whew, these, they don't hold up real well. But then again, like, you couldn't avoid Hulkamania. And I, as a 7-8-year-old kid, was all into that shit. But as a 45-year-old man who was trying to look back on it fondly and be like, yeah, this guy was one of the GOATs, I'm like, oh, whew. I don't know, man. Like you said, he wasn't carrying a lot of the matches. I don't know. It was weird to watch.
Yeah, and obviously he wasn't wrestling for us now in the modern day, right? He's doing it at the time, and he's got his shtick. But I mean, really, there is nothing that resembles Hulk Hogan in terms of like the in-ring work. Anything that resembles modern day wrestling. You can go back and watch Savage Steamboat WrestleMania 3. That looks like a modern day match, right? So it wasn't just people of the time period. Mr. Perfect. I mean, you can go up and down the card, guys in the 80s who have matches that look like what modern day wrestling is, and you can trace the lineage back to those guys. It doesn't come through Hulk Hogan though. It's just not, and that's why I think John Cena is ahead of him. I would put him at number 4 on the all-time list of just total package professional wrestlers, huge name stars.
Yeah, and I have to admit that when I started back watching again about 4 years ago or so, I watched a couple of Cena matches, but like Cena wasn't full time at that point, so he wasn't on TV every week.
Yeah,
and he's been on once or twice, I think, in an event since. Like, he's made a couple of quick appearances, like he did the thing with Bray Wyatt a couple years ago, and then I remember him showing up in a couple of pay-per-views here and there, but I've watched a handful of his matches, but not enough of them to be able to give him an official ranking in my list. So to me though, like I understand and I get the merits behind him, but when I watched his matches, I didn't get as much of a thrill out of him as I got when I turned on and was like, well, I gotta watch Austin matches. I gotta watch The Rock matches. I didn't get the same thrill from Cena that I got from those guys. Like I got more excited watching, The Rock and Stone Cold than I did. And part of it was Stone Cold, just that whole persona, right?
Yeah.
But the Cena stuff didn't stick with me as much as the others did. However, having said that, I am really excited to see the whole reason why the question was being asked was as a lead-in to, what's happening Friday night at SmackDown. I think should be super fun.
Yeah, this match coming up, if you're listening to this on a Friday when it releases, it'll be tonight, right? Yeah, this is cool. This is where Cena got his big start, was on SmackDown. I remember when he... and they showed this too, his debut, Ruthless Aggression against Kurt Angle, where he slapped him, that kind of thing. But then when Cena hit his stride is when he started doing the rapper stuff, the Doctor of Thugonomics. He got the U.S. title, put a spinner plate on it. More his personality was coming out. That's where he got became a big time star. And then of course his big time first title win, world title championship win against JBL at WrestleMania, their feud. JBL was the top heel on SmackDown at the time, doing really outstanding work. So it's cool to see Cena all these years come back to SmackDown. And I think they said, I don't even know when the last time he had a match. They said Roman's last match on SmackDown was like June of this year. Cena's, I don't even know how long. I mean, he's probably not wrestled on free TV in a hot minute. So, and the pairing of those two guys and putting Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in the ring with them. That's a great pairing, and like we talked about last week, just shows you how much stock and how much confidence the WWE has in those two guys.
Yeah.
We got a little excited midsummer. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, their contracts were coming up. Oh, could they go to AEW? Could they jump ship? I think those dudes are WWE lifers. There's no reason at this point in their career to ever jump over to AEW. Because they're in,
they re-signed to Kevin for a long-term deal, didn't they?
Yeah, and I think he went on a podcast and was like, my deal's up in 24 and there's no reason why I wouldn't re-sign. Why wouldn't you be? Because he can be in this role and make good money for another 4 to 5 years and then go into the Hall of Fame and come back part-time, be a producer, be a color. Like, he can just work in the company for forever. So there will be no reason for him to jump. I'd love to see him come to AEW, just to have some fresh matchups and whatnot. But he'll be there for the rest of his life till he retires from professional wrestling. But this match Friday, I think the main thing that would come out of it is going to be the main event scene for WrestleMania. Not WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, sorry. Whatever the main event's going to be at Royal Rumble, whatever Roman's going to do, probably going to be Reigns versus Kevin Owens. I would imagine that those wheels get put in motion Friday night, and that plan starts to solidify. Maybe even John Cena's potential WrestleMania opponent, if he's going to be at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, if you believe all the dirt sheets and all the rumors, Mania could be fucking larger than normal this year because, it's pretty big last year when you got Stone Cold back. Well, there's already pretty big rumors that he'll be there this year in some capacity. And now we're talking Cena. And, there's been rumors for a while that the whole Bloodline thing would end up with some sort of culmination of The Rock entering at Mania somehow, some way. Unless they bring him back before Mania and go ahead and get that over with. But I don't know why you would. But that would be fucking huge if all those guys are at Mania.
Yeah, I mean, I'd put money on it that those three names will be at WrestleMania this year, doing something like not just showing up. I think they'll have matches. Stone Cold, I don't know who you would do. I think the obvious match for Cena would be Austin Theory, right? Just because their careers at this point mirror each other so well, being the chosen guy, that kind of thing. There's a natural built-in story in there. Although I would love to see, personally, John Cena versus Gunther. And I think if you had big plans for Gunther going forward, giving him a big win over a legend like that at WrestleMania would be the thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, for the, I guess it could be for the Intercontinental Championship. You could take the championship off of him before WrestleMania if you wanted to do something else with it. But I think that'd be a match. And then, The Rock, if he's going to come back, there's only one match to make, and that's against Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
It'll be fun, though. We're gearing up. This is really, I think, the kickoff of WrestleMania season coming up Friday night. This is kind of when it starts. Which is
I don't have Photoshop on my computer at home. I need to go ahead and do that soon. But if I were in my office, I'm still on vacation this week, so Patrick and I are recording virtually. I'm on vacation, he's on vacation, so he's in his closet at home, and I'm locked up in my bedroom. But if I had Photoshop at the house this week, the promo materials for the podcast would be me on the top rope, posing, standing at staring and pointing at the WrestleMania sign banner that everybody's going to be doing for the next 2.5-3 months until we get there, because it's going to get overplayed.
It's a yearly,
every time somebody wins a match.
A yearly tradition now at this point.
Yeah. I may have to. Maybe next week when I'm back in the office at work, I'll cobble one together. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of speculations and a lot of excitement about what matches we'll see. You know, we've clearly been speculating, and there'll be lots more of that to come in the next couple of months. But I think you're right. I think whatever happens on SmackDown Friday could be the start of some sort of storyline that starts building towards then. Yeah, I think that's the only reason you do it. Have that match. Well, let's get into AEW Dynamite from last night. All around, I thought it was a good show. For some reason, I thought this was going to be. I lost count. I thought that we were in California and we were getting match 7 of Death Triangle and the Elite. So when they announced last night that, hey, we're in Colorado, I was like, wait, I got all messed up. So got a little ahead of myself. But it started out pretty strong with Bryan Danielson and Ethan Page. Got a quick little interruption up top from MJF and his box. So I guess they're going back to that well again for a little bit.
Although they didn't cut to the wide camera as much Wednesday night. Yeah. So at least there's something.
Yeah. But that was a good match to start off. You know, I thought it was funny that Stokely had a hat on when he wore it, you know, came down to the ring. Because they made the comment last week about, you know, the light shining off his head or whatever. But good match, and then it ended. This is a little separate thing, but after that, you know, it went to Samoa Joe and Wardlow, and Samoa Joe took Wardlow's knee out with a pipe, which sounded like he really hit him. I don't know how the fuck you faked that.
It could be a gimmick pipe.
Yeah.
I mean, and when he was on the ground, he hit mostly the ground rather than the knee at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, they could have gimmicked a pipe. Could have been a little rubber thing. Get in there and swing it.
Yeah. Maybe you got a really good sound guy on standby. But yeah, that's a pretty good first package of the first part of the show. Getting a little drama set up towards, you know, the final match of the night. So I thought that was a nice little tease to end the Ethan Page and Danielson match and go right to the tease with Wardlow and Samoa Joe. Do you think they'll keep going back to those guys for a while?
Samoa Joe and Wardlow?
Yeah.
No, I think that their thing's probably done for a little bit.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that with the main event. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, every week we come on here and talk about how good Danielson is. There's nothing really like...
Yeah.
At this point, we just be like, yeah, he's the greatest in-ring wrestler of all time, and there's not much else to say. I'm looking forward to this match with MJF. I mean, just trot Danielson out there with anybody. It doesn't matter. He's just... I mean, he's an A+ in-ring competitor The crowd loves him. It was good to see Ethan Page get to work him to get more experience. The higher profile we can put Ethan Page in, I think the better he's going to be, and the better the AEW as a company is going to be.
Yeah.
It's just a dude that kind of lingers around the upper mid card as a heel, and pairing him with Stokely Hathaway is a perfect combination.
Yeah, and he's fans are leaning into that heel angle with him too, because he got booed out of the fucking arena last night when he walked down the stage.
Yeah,
down the ramp.
Another hot crowd last night. So there's been a buzz for AEW that they feel like they've hit their stride again. This was in terms of just the in-ring action. I mean, last night was fantastic up and down the board. There really wasn't anything that was any kind of stinker, and I kind of like this. If you'll notice, now 3 weeks in a row, we've had a separate championship be defended as the main event. The winter is coming. We got the World Heavyweight Championship. Last week, we got Hayter and Shida for the Women's Championship. This week, we get the TNT Championship. I think that's a good way to pace things. Each championship kind of gets its 1 week in the sun. Meanwhile, we're telling other stories to lead up to the matches.
Next week will be the trios. Surely, right?
No, that's in 2 weeks. So next week
God damn, I'm way off on when the show.
Yeah, next week is Ricky Starks and Chris Jericho.
Okay.
Another big thing about next week is, did you see the new AEW logo and the new IDs and all the promos and stuff that they had?
I saw a lot of it, and somebody mentioned that it looked like it was like Tron, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, so on one of the BTEs, Matt and Nick were like filming stuff in this new stage, but they didn't say what it was for. And then turned to find out it's for the new AEW look. It's not a huge difference, but, they brought in that guy that was Kevin Dunn's number 2 in WWE to head up production. Now, they were probably going to do a new AEW logo and everything for the new year anyway, but having this guy come in right in time for the new year where he can kind of put his own spin on things, production-wise, I think that this is... 2023 could be a big year for AEW for a lot of reasons. And the production side of it, and if they can find interesting ways just to broadcast professional wrestling, because it's basically been broadcasted the same exact way since it started, right? Since the territories have gotten studio time and been filming it, there's not been that much innovation and experimentation that's happened in professional wrestling. So if they can do some of that, I think that'd be cool. That's another little wrinkle that they can help differentiate themselves from WWE. So anytime you can do that, I think as AEW or as WWE, anytime either one of these companies can put their own spin on something and do something unique, I think it's going to be good for the companies themselves and good for professional wrestling in general. And then, Wardlow attacking, or Samoa Joe attacking Wardlow. Can we just talk about the main event already? Because I have a hot take about Wardlow. I'm not into Wardlow now. I don't think. I don't think he has it. And if I was,
you don't think so?
If I was Tony Khan, I'd start putting stock in other people. I think you've missed this boat, or something has happened, or he's not the guy that you thought he was. I think pairing him up with Samoa Joe has been the absolute worst thing for Wardlow, because I think it has exposed everything that he's not good at, that Samoa Joe is good at, which is why Samoa Joe has had an iconic 2-decade-plus career in professional wrestling. Like, Wardlow does not come off as convincing at all.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he doesn't have the mic skills that Joe has.
But being
so I think you're right in that having those two together, like, it shined a light on Joe.
Yeah.
Right.
The spotlight went on Joe, and it made Wardlow look like a guy who is just going to be a career mid-carder and not going to. And I think part of the reason AEW put him in this role is because if you were 6 months ago, if we were talking about guys who could potentially break into the main event scene in the coming year, he would have been one of the top choices. Now, I don't think that's the case. I would rather put my emphasis on guys like Ricky Starks, even guys like Darby Allin, people that have some kind of unique thing. To me, there's nothing unique about Wardlow. And, we didn't know this 6 months ago because he didn't get a chance to do anything, right? For the majority of his career in AEW, he's been MJF's lackey. and MJF gave him, such a rub, just being the superstar that he is.
Right.
So it's been I don't know. I just don't see it. Even in the match last night, Wednesday night. And I mean, it's little nitpicky things. I mean, he forgot to sell the knee at some points. Like, he would sell it and then he would be fine, everything like that. But he has special moments inside the ring, like the Swanton and the Whisper in the Wind and the Jeff Hardy stuff. Like, you can do that. And it's cool. I just don't know if there's any, like, what else is there. Yeah. Because he's going to be... It's not like he's an underdog. It's not like he's 5'10" and 200 pounds, and he just has a natural underdog element to him. He's 6'5" and 250 and looks like a Greek god, but yet every time he opens his mouth, I do not believe a word he's saying, and he seems so just, I don't know, like almost nervous a little bit when people put a microphone in front of his face. And you look at Samoa Joe in the 2 weeks, every time they cut Samoa Joe, that dude sounds like a fucking warrior from like ancient Rome or some shit like that. Like, there is like he's such a damn behemoth where like everything you say, you're like, yeah, he's going to kill somebody. That's how it is. Yeah. So, me personally, if this was a test, if I was AEW management and I was giving this test to Wardlow, putting him up against Samoa Joe to see what Wardlow has, I would think that Wardlow has failed, and it would make me question what I do with him going forward. Because I'm not saying you to like fire him or whatnot. I mean, he has a place.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's as a single star.
You make a pretty compelling point. I hate to hear it, but it's pretty compelling.
Like, he might be a tag teamer.
Yeah.
Or he might be just a career mid-carder. I don't know. But like I said, 6 months ago, we would have thought, hey, at some point, this dude might challenge for the world title. I wouldn't have this guy nowhere near the world title picture at this point. There's so many other guys that I would rather put in that position.
I mean, maybe he could be a Ring of Honor dude, too.
Maybe. But wouldn't you rather... to me, you would want to put guys in Ring of Honor that you don't know where the ceiling's at for those guys.
Yeah.
I feel like I know where I feel like I've been shown where the ceiling is at for Wardlow.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. I just realized we're already close to the 30-minute mark. We got a little bit of an update on Hangman Page. It looks like he'll be back in 2 weeks, so he should be back in time for the California episode, which is exciting. So, I mean, California will be he and Mox more than likely, right?
Yeah.
And then the Trios title. Those two matches alone make up a hell of a show. So I figure they'll build around both of those.
Then you
would be cool to.
You got Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, and Rhea and her mystery partners also in California. Yeah,
that's right.
Dynamite does this every couple of months. There's like a Dynamite that's basically a pay-per-view because they only have 4 of them. So this will be the one that they have in January as they're going into a new market.
Is this one? Does it have a name or anything? Like, we get Winter is Coming and Fighter Fest and a couple others throughout the year, like Miami, whatever that one is.
Yeah,
Beach Blast or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if this one has a name yet. That doesn't mean they won't have one.
Yeah, but it could be set up for a pay-per-view caliber show. So that's exciting news to get Hangman back, full capacity, hopefully. And then next was Blackpool Combat Club with Claudio and Mox versus Top Flight. Great match. It doesn't... there's not really a story there, as far as I could tell, other than just trying to get Top Flight a couple of good matches in. Those kids keep showing out. It'll be nice to see what happens. I wish you could get a little more... maybe a little more muscle on like Dante. Dante's in good shape, but I feel like he could tone up a little bit more maybe. I don't know, man. I'm just nitpicking here at him because I feel like they've got a lot of potential.
Yeah, I mean, actually, you can say that for a lot of these guys, though, like Dante and Darius and Daniel Garcia. They're still just so young, right, in their early 20s. You would think at some point that, you know, the body mass stuff and things like that are going to come. I think with the Blackpool Combat Club, the way they're being used now is perfect. This is probably the way they should have been used, which is kind of they're out of all kinds of title pictures. Well, I mean, saying that, Claudio's the Ring of Honor World Champion, but that's not really... You know, that doesn't have an emphasis on AEW anymore, right? That's just a thing that you can kind of carry. But Blackpool Combat Club, you know, being used as a way... Bud, what are you doing? We got a break in here.
Little man in the closet. Little man in the closet. I heard him.
Let me go put him back. Yeah, that is on the thing. Here, let's go, Bubba. So I can finish this podcast up. Come on. Come on, Dada.
So I probably won't take time to edit this. So you got a little nice break in from Little Man. Like I said, Patrick was trying to record in the closet, and I've got a dog I'm trying to keep out of my room. So I got like a couple of baby gates up in front of over there because my dog will try to get into this room, and if I let her in, she will be an asshole the entire time I try to record. But yeah, shit like this will happen every once in a while when we're not recording at the office, so y'all bear with us. And we will do our best to get things lined back up. You know, in terms of the match, I thought it was a good, you know, obviously four good wrestlers are always going to put on a good show. I just, in terms of the rest of it, I don't know that it served much of a purpose. I was just bullshitting through this whole thing, so I won't have to do any edits.
Okay.
So.
What we still talking about Blackpool Combat Club?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I talked about how sometimes we might have things like this if we're recording online some, because I was like, I explained that I've got a dog that's probably trying to break in my door right now, because if I let her in here, she would be a whole asshole while I'm trying to record. So.
Yeah, we gotta run in from a little 3-year-old. Yeah, the way Blackpool Combat Club's being used, though, this is the way that they probably should have been used from the get-go, at least, which is kind of elevating younger talent, beating them up, because you put Darius and Dante in the ring with two guys, and Claudio and Moxley, who have been mainstays in American professional wrestling for years now at this point, and have done it at the highest level. And so just for those two guys sharing a ring with Mox and Claudio elevates them in a way. Because it is kind of strange, though, that Yuta has been completely disconnected from Blackpool Combat Club. So has Danielson, really.
Yeah.
But they've attached Claudio and Moxley together. I don't know. This is probably not the best way to use all four of those guys, just meaning in conjunction with each other, but it's fine. It's working.
Yeah. Next up, I thought was funny. We mentioned a couple weeks ago how the Orange Cassidy backstage segments have been just on fire lately. And they didn't disappoint last night with him and the Best Friends were being interviewed along with Kip Sabian. And then they pointed out that Kip was saying he needs a shot because he eliminated Cassidy last week from the Rumble. And then they pointed out that Trent immediately threw Sabian out, so therefore he should get the next shot. So Cassidy was just real casually like, yeah, Friday night, me and Trent.
Yeah.
I love it.
It was a great little backstage segment. I think we talked a couple months ago that, at least I thought, that Trent and Chuck had potential as like a heel tag team. I don't know if they'll split up that group with Cassidy having the belt like this, but there's something interesting and a compelling story you could tell there with Trent and Chuck maybe having a little bit of jealousy over Orange Cassidy. I mean, and Danhausen's just kind of there. I guess we were just supposed to forget that Danhausen turned into like Nosferatu there
for like 20 minutes.
Yeah. So he
or not even that long.
And yeah, he just started beating the shit out of people. So can he just not? Like, what happens with that? Is it just when he gets dropped on his head, he goes dark, and like, then he gets in the concussion protocol and gets out of it, and then he's fine again? Like, how does that work? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Again, about the show needing writers, we're beating a dead horse at this point. Anyway, yeah, that'll probably be a good match on Rampage.
Yeah, they're doing a good job of. I mean, it looks like they're trying to anchor Rampage around Cassidy a lot lately.
Yeah, I mean, he's been, and Moxley was advertised too for Rampage, so they have put, they put more of an emphasis on that Friday night show, because it was just the drizzling shits there for like,
yeah,
and it's still not great. I mean, we didn't even talk about anything from this week on Rampage, and what was the Rampage at the $300,000 thing or whatever battle royal?
Yeah.
I mean, it's still just inconsequential. There's not going to be like a title that changes hands on Rampage, unless the Rampage is live, which we have some live Rampages coming up here in, I think, a couple weeks, because they're doing Rampage and Battle of the Belts.
Yeah.
Which, again, Battle of the Belts just sneaks up. They don't advertise this thing at all. Also,
no.
If you have,
I think I found out about the last one like the week it aired.
Yeah, and just, for the listeners out there, if you have YouTube TV, you have to manually go in and tell it to record Battle of the Belts, or it won't record. Found that out the hard way.
Yeah, I did that once
didn't
too.
record it, so.
Not on the last one, but the one before that, I found out the hard way.
Yeah.
So next up, squash match, Balaam Lynx versus Hook. This was, just setting up more of maybe a pair up between Jack Perry and Hook. Because Hook was standing there in the ring after the win, and then Stokely comes down with Lee, Moriarty, and Big Bill. And there was a stare-off between Big Bill and Hook, and then Jungle Boy Jack Perry comes down to save the day and hits Bill with a 2x4. I think that's a cool pairing. I don't know how long they could carry that on, or are they...
I bet it just goes to the California show.
You think so?
Yeah. I think that's just a match to get Hook on the card. And to try to make that a big deal.
Yeah.
That's my speculation. They get the win over Morrissey and Moriarty in 2 weeks at that California show, and then that's kind of it.
So there was a promo from Jericho. He cut a promo on Ricky Starks. There wasn't too much memorable from there for me. And then there was the Mogul affiliates backstage, and I missed the introduction of them. Was it Friday or last Wednesday? Last Wednesday.
Yeah.
On Dynamite, because I missed most of that show. Look, I just don't know what to say about this.
I love Swerve. I think Swerve has so much charisma, and there's so much runway here to tell a story with him being like this hip-hop super villain. And, he can go in the ring. He's got all the talents. I just don't know why they paired him with these two guys.
Yeah, that was what my sigh was. I don't understand.
Like, I don't know. It just feels like you're bogging this guy down from the very start. Because not only does he have to get, and I'm not saying Swerve is incapable of doing this. He's a fantastic wrestler. He's got a ton of charisma, so maybe he can. But what you're asking Swerve to basically do is, you got to get yourself over as a heel, which he can do, no problem. But then also you have to get this dude and Parker Boudreaux over as a heel. And not only as a heel, as a monster heel, which is tough to get anybody across that kind of way to make it believable. And you have to get this other dude over who literally we've never seen wrestle before. And again, like we talk about all the time, this is not WWE, the audience anyway. We're like, the WWE audience will go with things like this if dudes are not great in the ring. If you can't fucking wrestle, in AEW, the crowd doesn't give a shit about you. This is a hardcore fan base. Like, this is what they care about. So if you can't do it in between the ropes, you're going to get absolutely no kind of response whatsoever. Which is why their segment last week fell completely flat. Was because the audience had no connection to these two dudes whatsoever. So, yeah. I don't know, man. It's tough. Like, there's a lot of guys. I mean, we threw out some names last week. Chris Masters, Nick Aldis, fucking Butcher and the Blade. You can put them dudes in suits or in a hoodie sweatshirt or whatever. Give them some sweat. There's so many people that you could have used that have some kind of built-in history with your audience. So, I don't know. Maybe they have seen these two guys train, and maybe people have vouched for them that AEW management trusts. I don't know. Just as a viewer, I think I've seen enough of Parker Boudreaux to say that he's not ready to be on television yet. Haven't seen this other dude, so I don't know what he looks like in the ring. I mean, if you think face tattoos are scary, whatever. I don't think that I think, again, this is AEW kind of missing parts of the culture at large, because like the biggest pop star in the world right now, Post Malone, is tatted up all over his face. Right. So it ain't like it was in the 80s, where you have face tattoos. You're like, oh shit. You're like, nah, this dude that's fucking singing with auto-tune's got, face tattoos, and he's talking about like his, mental health issues he's having. You know what I mean? Like, he's pretty open and emotionally vulnerable, like with tattoos. It's not really scary anymore. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This is not a storyline that interests me. I do like Swerve a lot. I think that's why I'm a little bothered by it, because I feel like there's got to be more for him to do. But we'll see. I won't give up on it just yet. Next, we got the trios. Match 6 out of 7. Falls count anywhere with Death Triangle and the Elite. I saw a sign in the crowd last night that said lazy booking, and I just kind of assumed that it was because they're doing this, but
that's a Jim Cornette thing.
Yeah, look, I'm for it. I don't care. You can call it lazy, you can call it whatever you want, but it's not like he's just throwing some chumps out there to run a best of 7. Like, right. These are the 2 top teams in the tree, and fucking the Elite hasn't been on TV in forever. Fucking let them go out there and shine.
Yeah, and this match was fantastic, top to bottom. Love the little details of the Elite, because it's Falls Count Anywhere. They don't dress in their traditional ring gear. Kenny's got the pants on with the Kota Ibushi shirt, by the way. A little Easter egg there he had going on. His tag team partner from Japan. This was great. I loved every minute of this. Just the fucking the crazy spots, the flow of this match. So many times when you're doing some of these big spots and you have 6 guys, there's a lot to kind of coordinate, right? Just in terms of like, you got to be here at this time, and if you don't, it's gonna look stupid. Like, there was never a moment in this match Wednesday night where guys were like standing around waiting for somebody to get in position before they could do the spot. Like, it was just full bore action, top to bottom.
There was one weird part toward the beginning, and I was sitting there thinking it. I was like, where the fuck is Kenny? And I think it was Phoenix. Yeah. They had just disappeared for a minute, and then one of the announcers said something about it, and I was like, okay, thank you, because they had just been fucking MIA. And I thought that was funny, but yeah, there was a spot in the middle, like where they had made it down to the ring, and I was like, to start out in absolute chaos like you do, and then end up all down there, and to have it work out the way it did, like you said, it was just spot, bam, it's like end of sequence, fantastic. And the one wing angel from a height like that onto a table. I think he did it before. He did it before at the Jacksonville football stadium in the brawl. Yeah, I think he did it there before. Fucking stellar again. Yeah, and I'm for it.
And I love the finish too. And I wish they would have got. We talked about timing issues, and this really wasn't a timing issue, but I wish it just would have been a little bit tighter. this was basically the Elite squeaking out a win, right? Because Pac had one of the Young Bucks in the middle of the ring about to submit, and Kenny comes in with the one-winged angel, and because it's false count anywhere, you know, he gets to the table, 1, 2, 3, they win, and then the Young Bucks starts tapping out right before, right? So then again, it adds to that element, like, oh man, they squeaked another one out. You know, it's a little bit like that LeBron James, and this is what they're basing it off of, right? The NBA Finals, LeBron James down 3-1. This is what it's been. It's a little bit like that LeBron block that he had against the Warriors that basically saved their championship run, the chase down thing. So I loved every minute of this. I think Kenny Omega we're so blessed that we're able to watch wrestling and have fucking Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega and Seth Rollins and Kevin all these fucking dudes who are just badasses inside the ring are all wrestling on television at the same time. It's amazing.
Let me tell you my one gripe or complaint about Kenny Omega, and I don't think we've ever talked about this. When I first heard about Kenny was from one of our co-workers, shout out Carl, and we were talking in my office one day, and he was talking about some New Japan guys, and it was when AEW was first starting, and I didn't see anything of it, and then I watched one of those first few free pay-per-views that they did or whatever, and I was like, oh shit, Kenny Omega, I've heard a lot about him. And then this dude comes out with his hair, and it was like, it wasn't as drastic as it was last night, but that whole black and white shit he's got going on right now in his hair has got to go. Come on, Kenny.
Oh, you don't like it?
I think it looks fucking stupid.
It's a little bit, he's a big video game fan. And so he pulled this look off more in New Japan when he was like the cleaner, but he's very Liquid Snake. Wrestling, if listeners out there know the Metal Gear Solid franchise, I mean, that's kind of what he's based his look off of, the hair, all that kind of stuff, the sunglasses. It was kind of really inspired by that video game character. But I mean, hey, if somebody's hair is the only gripe you have about them, and everything else is flawless, he's doing a good job. That fucking V-trigger that he hit.
Yeah. Fucking brutal.
Right off the ramp. Like where you talking about, like where they disappeared and Phoenix jumped off and then he gets up and the camera's right there and Kenny just hits. I love any kind of finishing move where you can kind of hit it out of nowhere and it looks brutal. And that trigger Nate.
It was I didn't mean to cut you off there, but it was a nice one too because what was it called? The tornado or something that he did off of the fucking set onto them. And you're like, oh, shit. And then, like, bam, he gets cold cocked with a knee in the face. Like,
and there's been so many wrestlers who have tried to do the knee like Omega. I think was it Mandy Rose in NXT was doing the knee? And then I think there's another dude in NXT who's, like, doing a knee. And it looked okay. Nobody's doing it like Kenny. Kenny's hitting it from angles. He's hitting it at different speeds. He's hitting it with guys leaned up against the ropes. He's hitting it out of the ripcord position. I mean, they're so creative. Just this whole match had creative spots all over the place. So, like, I would expect in 2 weeks that they up the ante even more, and with this ladder match, I personally think that this should have been the main event of the night.
Yeah.
Because I think it was tough for a lot of guys to follow that. Now they were still good wrestling, but I think Wardlow and Samoa Joe fell kind of flat, coming after, because I think this Falls Count Anywhere match was right in the middle of the show.
Yeah. So let's move on to Cheating Ass, Anna JAS, and Ty Mello versus Ruby Soho and Willow Nightingale. Anna J and Mello picked up the win. Cheating asses. That's a little disappointing. I was really hoping to see Ruby and Willow get the win. They're just really playing up this whole Ty Mello over Ruby angle a lot, I feel like. And I'm not for it.
There's only one woman in this match that really mattered. And I'm going to go on the record. It's December 29th right now when we're recording this. By this time next year, Willow Nightingale will be the biggest women's star in AEW, and I don't care who else. I don't care if Sasha Banks is in AEW, if Britt Baker, Saraya, Jamie Hayter, all of them. So that Willow Nightingale will be the biggest star in AEW in the women's division by this time next year. So put it down. That's my prediction. She has a natural charisma.
She's got the personality for it. Yeah,
it's everything about her screams out star. She's good in the ring. She's got it all. The only thing she needs is more opportunities in front of a live audience, in front of the television crowd, to kind of get herself over. And yeah, that's my prediction.
Yeah, I'm not mad at it. I think she's on the upshoot for sure. Just get her some more TV time. Matches like this will help. Let her build some chemistry with people.
Yeah.
I think we're going to start seeing a lot more of her.
And we just need to see more of her moves, right? That's a big thing. Like, she does that sliding crossbody that she goes down to the pin and she puts her chin underneath her, or her hand underneath her chin and smiles. Like, we just need more opportunities to know when stuff like that's coming. That's a big part of a wrestler's arsenal. It's just those signature moves that the audience can kind of get behind. So, that's it. Give it a year. Give it 12 months. It's going to happen. If not sooner. Could happen sooner, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, you might be right. Next up, a couple of promo-ish type deals. There was the music video with the Ass Boys.
Loved it.
Or not the Ass Boys. I say the Ass Boys because they were mentioned here, but I did miss the Acclaim music video.
You missed it?
Or I didn't miss it, but I missed it in the recap.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you didn't watch it. I was like, please go back and watch it.
No. I somehow missed it in the recap that I was scrolling through here. So, yeah, nothing to talk about there with the Ass Boys. Let's talk about the Acclaim.
There's some shots.
Called out
some shots in that.
Jeff Jarrett. Yeah, Jeff's wife. Called out her. Called out Kurt Angle's wife. Right.
Well, Kurt Angle's wife is Jeff Jarrett's wife, or Kurt Angle's ex-wife is Jeff Jarrett's current wife. I should say.
Oh, well, that shows my ignorance because I did not fucking know.
Yeah. There's a whole thing there. Yeah.
Boy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, when they started that rap music video, and it was even funny because, like, commentary afterwards mentioned it. Like, Taz was like, landing a little snug there of that music video, implying that, like, hey, those were some shots they were taking there. I don't know if...
Wow.
I mean, how would you even... Do they have to clear that with Tony? When they make a music video like that, surely they have to, right? But I mean, if you just shoot it and filming it and it's been advertised, what the hell is he going to do? He can't pull it.
I mean, you could.
You could, but I mean, it's not like if you're advertising the Acclaimed, you're going to have a music video. Like, he's probably not QCing that stuff till like the day of.
Yeah, you would think that like he would want to review the lyrics or something first, right?
They could always fucking. Oh, I changed it on the day. You know what I mean? Like,
you're right.
Yeah. It's all recorded track, so like they could do a recorded track and show it to him. He'd be like, yeah, it's all good, and then like fucking be like, well, we changed it a little bit and didn't have time to. It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission, right? Not saying that any heat's going to come from this, but I'm just saying that's some. And for the Acclaim, you kind of have. They've built up that reputation. They kind of have to do that, right? Like, you have to mention. Because all the fans are talking about it. So you got to mention Jeff Jarrett's wife. You got to mention the fact that he fucking wrestled Ric Flair and lost and all this shit. Like, you have, because if you didn't, then it would be going against what the Acclaimed have built their fan base off of. So I love it. I thought it was great. True. And this is a great way to have, it's a way to have the guys on the show, but they don't take up 10 to 12 minutes with an in-ring promo, and they get a little bit more creativity, and you can run it as a 2.5-minute package. When you come out of break before you go to the next match. It's perfect. It's a perfect way to use it.
Yeah, and then there was a quick promo from Ricky Starks backstage. Well, not a promo, but an interview.
Yeah.
More or less a promo. Always gold. Getting to see Ricky on the TV. And then the last match, we talked about it already. Samoa Joe versus Wardlow. There was the build-up. Was he going to be able to fight? Was he going to be able to fight? And he makes it down there. I thought the surprising part was when he cut off his hair at the end. He cut off Wardlow's hair.
Yeah. And then Darby Allin coming out to make the save.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so they'll be up. They're actually going to be on Wednesday. You know, he got the shit beat out of him last time. Darby Allin did with Joe. Do you think it'll be more of an actual competition this time, or?
I don't know. I mean, I hate to be negative Nancy on Wardlow here, but I'm more interested in this point in a Samoa Joe versus Darby Allin feud than I am really anything with Wardlow at this point. So, you know.
Do you think they're about to maybe do a character switch with Wardlow, like cutting his hair off, or was that just like a, hey, I'm tired of this shit?
It could just be, hey, I'm tired of this shit. Could be. I mean, what else would you do? Like, I don't know. You're going to turn him a heel again? Like, he was just a heel not that long ago. I just don't know what you do with Wardlow. Where do you position him now? Because seemingly, like, he's going to be out of the main event scene. Unless, you know, you want to feed him to MJF for a quick little 4 to 6 week run or something while you try to build to one of your pay-per-views. Like, could they do Wardlow after they get done with MJF and Danielson? I guess they could. MJF gets his win back from the pay-per-view earlier this year. I guess you could do that. I don't know. I don't know where you fit him now. Because, again, him being a big guy, it helps him and it hurts him in a lot of ways, right? It helps him, obviously, because it's professional wrestling, and the bigger you are, you know, it's natural, right? You look like you can kick somebody's ass, so it's easy to position you in that kind of way. But also, you being that big, it kind of limits what you can do. Like I said, like I said before, you can't play the underdog role. So I don't know. I don't know what happens with him. Samoa Joe's easy. I mean, it's fucking Samoa Joe. Even if you took the title off of him, whoever you put him in the ring with, Joe's just going to make you naturally want to watch it just based off his promo ability. So he's fine, and he has fucking, like I said, 2 decades worth of cachet that he's built up with wrestling audience, particularly the AEW wrestling audience that's going to know a lot of his past work. So he's fine. I mean, he's bulletproof at this point. And this is a perfect way to use him after you've kind of hot-shotted the TNT title around everywhere, to put it on him and to let him be the king of television, because that way you can protect him from... It gives him a reason to not be in the main event level scene while you have MJF there. And then also it keeps him relevant on television, and then elevates the title, you know. Sometimes the title makes the man, and sometimes the man makes the title. And in this case, having a guy like Samoa Joe carry around the TNT title elevates that championship in a way that... Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess you got to go back to what? Brody Lee and Cody Rhodes? Miro, that sort of run. I mean, that was over a year ago at this point.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah,
it's been 2 years, because Brody been passed for 2 years. Wow. Well, yeah, man, I think that wraps us up for the week. I'm excited about SmackDown. Hell, I'm excited about Rampage. I think Trent and Orange Cassidy will be fun.
Yeah.
And then we're already looking forward to Darby and Joe for Wednesday. You know, it's going to be hot coming up. We'll have another big pay-per-view from AEW soonish, and then
March.
We got the Rumble, and got the Rumble.
It's going to be a busy next
Mania.
Early 2023 for us on this podcast. We'll have a lot of good stuff to talk about. One last thing before we wrap up. I didn't mention this either before we started, and this won't take long. Dax Harwood has started a new podcast. Have you seen this?
Yeah. What's it called? Something
FTR.
Tequila and Wrestling.
Yeah. Family Tequila Wrestling.
Family Tequila and Wrestling.
So his first episode was all about CM Punk. And the only reason I bring this up is because at the very end of the podcast, he made a plea to the Elite and Punk and said, hey, if all you guys could make it work, we could make some money off of this. I'm just saying, I don't think CM Punk will be healthy. I said this last week. But if fucking CM Punk can be back in time for WrestleMania, and you have an FTR and CM Punk versus the Elite enter into a feud together right around WrestleMania season, you want to tell me that's not going to steal some of the thunder from the biggest WrestleMania of all time? Like, it just makes smart business moves. Now, I don't know what the relationship's going to be with those guys. That might be a burnt bridge, and CM Punk may never be seen in AEW again. But Jesus Christ, could you imagine? Just the promos, the matches, the anticipation.
I know I said at one point, I was like, man's got to be gone. He's caused too many problems. But you might have you made a pretty good point. Like, that would be the shit. Can they work through it? I don't know, man.
Who knows?
It seems like if anybody is going to be the asshole and not want to work through it, it's going to be Punk. But Matt and Nick Jackson seem some kind of way about it too.
There's a lot of egos involved, and all four of those guys. We've talked about, and I think even Dax and Cash have kind of alluded to the fact that the reason the big match between the Young Bucks and FTR didn't happen for all the belts was because, like, the Bucks didn't want a job. And you can't, FTR was on the run of a lifetime. You don't want to have them job out to the Young Bucks. So, a lot of egos involved all the way around. I'm just saying. This is it's a carrot that is dangling out there.
It might be on the Bucks at this point, because I saw a thing about an hour or two ago before we recorded. It was like, it was just a recap article. Somebody was, I guess, when Dax posted about his podcast on Instagram, or when he tweeted about it, or whatever. It was one of the two social medias. And he was like, it'd be great if everybody could work this out. And then apparently Punk responded just by saying, duh.
Yeah.
Which kind of shows a willingness to want to work it out, but, I mean, really?
I mean, I don't know. Don't want to keep talking in circles here, but just like there's probably a lot of blame to go around for a lot of different people in that scenario. Yeah. We don't know. We have inklings about what the backstage politics might have been in reference to those four men. I don't think there's a lot of politics in AEW. Even Dax alluded to this in his podcast. Was just like, hey, like, the locker room's pretty tight. There's a lot of camaraderie. Like, after the shows, we all drink tequila. Like, I don't feel like there's a lot of politics at play. But it's wrestling. There's egos involved with everybody, right?
Sure.
Guys don't want to do jobs, and, you have AEW is seen as almost second tier to some of those guys, because WWE has been the stalwart professional wrestling company for 50 plus years. So a lot of things are up in the air. I don't know, man. I'm selfishly, I want to see it, right? I just want to see the promos, if anything.
Yeah.
I want to see Kenny with a microphone, and I want to see CM Punk with a microphone standing in the middle of the ring with, firing off live rounds. Say whatever the hell you want to say. Let's make some television magic.
So, real quick, let me ask you this too before we sign off. Would you like to see would you rather he just shows up unexpectedly at the end of a thing? Because, like, when he showed up in AEW the first time, we all knew he was coming.
Yeah.
There were too many teases and too many hints and whatever clues.
Yeah.
Would you rather there be some teases, or would you rather just bam?
It's the end of the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I think Omega
that's the way
and the Bucks are standing in the ring or whatever after a trios title win, and then it's lingering, and there's Taz and Excalibur throwing it off, and then you just hear da 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 da, and he just stands on the ramp to end it out, and you'll burn the fucking internet down. I'm telling you, like, it's at this point it's the fans want to see it so bad, and if you were Tony Khan, and you have these television contracts that are about to come up, and you have kind of slumping ratings, and the buzz and some of the shine that AEW had 18 months ago has kind of faded a little bit, and you're looking for something. Like, do you just walk into CM Punk and call him up on the phone and be like, what does it take? Give me a fucking number. You'll come in and we'll do a program. Ultimately, you're going to have to lose to the Elite because they're EVPs. Like, that's the way to make it. But, like, you sit Punk And if you want to do the trios thing, you set Punk and Dax and Cash all day.
But they're not EVPs anymore, though.
Well, yeah, but I still don't think you have Punk come in and go over Kenny Omega. That's just me personally.
Right.
Maybe you do. I don't know. Because Omega and the Young Bucks are going to have more of a life in AEW than what Punk's going to have.
True.
But, I mean, yeah.
Because he's still under contract for most of this year, right?
Yeah. And I just say, hey, Phil, what's the fucking number? What's the number to give me 3 months? Is it 5 million? Is it 6? Like, what is it? I'll fucking get my daddy's money, you know. Fucking the Jaguars about to be in the fucking playoffs anyway because the Titans can't get a goddamn win, so it ain't gonna matter.
Normally, I'd have probably been a little rushed to get this episode done so we could watch the game, but
yeah, no, we're fucked.
Ain't nary a fucking Titans starter even playing tonight.
Yeah.
Put the quarterback on IR. Henry's out. Jeffrey Simmons is out.
Me and you might have missed a phone call. They might have wanted us to damn suit up tonight.
Bud Dupree's on IR.
Yeah.
Our whole team is goddamn injured.
Yeah.
So, also, not for nothing, started goddamn Josh Hobbs tonight instead of Malik Willis. What does that say about Malik Willis?
I don't know. Malik Willis and Wardlow have a lot of similarities in my mind right now.
Fucking hell.
Two shiny prospects that have now the shine has kind of faded. But anyway, just in closing, the CM Punk stuff keeps dangling out there. We got to talk about it. I want to see it.
So y'all holler at us on Twitter at Alabama Slam Pod, and if you don't want to do that, you can start up some shit on Facebook too, the Alabama Slam podcast. Tell us what you think about CM Punk and a possibility of him coming back. Let's talk about Cena on SmackDown. Let's talk about whatever you want to talk about. Holler at us, Twitter, Alabama Slam Pod. We're on Instagram as well. Not much for conversations over there. We just post pictures and shit every once in a while. But yeah, we're always down to talk. You want to commiserate about the fucking Titans? If you're a Titans fan, holler at us. Patrick will be glad to wallow around in it with you.
Yeah.
And me too, but Patrick takes it a little more serious than I do, I think. But yeah, y'all holler at us, and we'll holler at y'all again next week.
Later, guys.